All of these things we create. We learn the world around us. Everybody is immersed in that world. So it's like a common lie we tell each other so that we see the world in similar ways if we describe it. It allows us to function in this world. And you can buy the fantasy of that world, the American dream or whatever dream you have, and try to manifest that dream by going through various mechanisms like education, on-the-job training, getting married, having a family, whatever your dream is. But it's all a fantasy. It's not real. It's something we create in our minds. It's almost the first thing a teacher will tell you is to throw your mind away. At least the enlightened teachers in Zen. Don't trust the mind. The mind is filled with words, logic, concepts, linearity. This just creates what we would call it, a rather easy to understand world to live in. But it's a prison. It's not real. There's no energy there. There's no life there. And the more you live in the mind and that world you create, the more stifled you can feel. Your own creation stifles you. So you look for ways to get out of this, to transform yourself, to get self-knowledge, to get divine love, or at least get a better relationship, or a better reality to live in. Preferably a 4-bedroom reality in Beverly Hills, or one in Santa Monica so you can see the ocean. Or one in southern France by the ocean. And you get an extra girlfriend or boyfriend too on the side. Always trying to be happy by expanding your dream of what would make you think will make you happy. And the more you work at it, the more you seem to get the things you want or you don't. And you see they don't make you happy. So what to do? What to do? I went through 6 or 7 Zen masters. I forgot how many exactly. None of them really moved me that much. And there was no love in Zen, so I went to Muktananda, Shankarananda's ashram in Los Angeles. Had about 35 people living there. And I found love there. I found warmth there. There's no teachings we're speaking of. Beautiful chanting. Sweet people. Utterly nutty people, some of them. And then Muktananda came to town. And I saw what the real deal was, the so-called guru, and was not impressed. So what to do? I dropped out of spirituality for a fairly long period of time. Until 1989, when just out of chance, I happened across Robert Adams. He was teaching a small class in a small room. 8 people in a small room. 1 bedroom, not even 1 bedroom apartment, a studio apartment. I even forgot where it was. The guy who rented the place, his name was Jay. Jay would later commit suicide, feeling poisoned by Robert's teachings. I watched Robert. He seemed like the real deal. But I was, what would you call it? I couldn't trust. I doubted him. I doubted his actions. I distrusted him. My paranoia was out. I second-guessed him. I even argued with him. But he was imperturbable. Nothing shook him. No matter what happened around him, no matter how much chaos or confusion, he just had a little smile, if he bothered to smile at all, and was unmoved. One day, after about being with him for 8 months or 9 months, I was then working making fair amounts of money in workers' comp, writing evaluation reports. Robert came to me and said, "My wife needs money to expand her business. She manufactures clothes and sells them in flea markets. For $10,000 you can be a partner." I gave him 7. Even thought of drawing up a contract. I never did. I never ever heard about her business or the $7,000 afterwards. Robert lied to me. He manipulated me. He used me. Later on, just before he was leaving for Sedona, almost every Sunday, he would talk about the great earthquake that was going to hit Southern California, and that we should be prepared for the earthquake, like moving to Sedona. He talked about it a lot. I thought it was a lie. But after a while I believed him. So I wrote to the newspapers, various papers in town, Cleveland, or Los Angeles, predicting a great earthquake in the area he predicted near Palmdale. And I asked Robert, is it specifically going to be in Palmdale? Or should I name a larger area when I'm talking to the press? He sort of chuckled and he says, larger area. No earthquake ever happened. It was a manipulation, a lie. He lied to me again. He lied to other people. He constantly criticized other people behind their back in Satsang. He criticized Mary Skane. He criticized me. He's telling people not to listen to me, that I had no idea what I was talking about when it came to enlightenment. Other people lied to me too. When it was time to go up to Sedona, one of the Robert's students promised me a job up there, driving a Jeep in Sedona, one of those tourist Jeeps. That was a lie. The students in Sedona lied to Robert and said that they would support him, pay his rent, food. They lied to him. None of them came through. And before he moved, Robert said they were lying to him. He knew it. But he was going anyway. But after the third year of knowing him, 1992, my doubts in him stopped. I figured, what were my doubts getting me? I was in the same mess I was for the previous 30 or 40 years. I wasn't making any progress. I didn't learn anything. Robert's talks were boring from my point of view. Nothing special. But in 1992, something happened inside of me. And I said, I'm going to risk it all. Robert's my man. And then I trusted him enough to write about the earthquake. No matter what he said, no matter what he did, I trusted him. Even as he lied to me, I just saw it as part of a process of cooking his students, and didn't take much of it. But he lied constantly. He's constantly womanizing. I have no idea what he's telling them. I certainly wasn't telling them I hate you. But he was never perturbed. No matter what happened, he was not perturbed. There was such an equanimity about him, a coolness and aloofness. When he ate at a restaurant and there were 10 students there, the students were all busy talking to themselves, among themselves, about the day's events, cooking, whatever. And Robert sat at the corner of the left or rightest table and was totally ignored while they talked on and on and on and on. They ignored him because he wasn't there. All of them were engaged with each other in the here and now. But I wasn't. I was contemplating, what is this state like? What is he like? I knew he was a liar. I knew everybody was lying to him. I know that everybody lies to each other. But Robert knew it. He tolerated it. And he was complete. He really didn't need it. He said if it weren't for his wife and his daughters, he could happily be living as a homeless person. No responsibilities, no expenses, nobody to take care of, no dog. And I feel that way now myself. Oh, how I wish I could just walk away from all of this. This nice house. Quiet retirement. Teaching. Even my 7 cats. For the freedom of not having to be responsible for anybody. But so many people are looking for help, to help them in their quest for whatever they're looking for, and almost nobody knows what they're looking for, except perhaps a word like enlightenment, or self-knowledge, or self-realization, or arousing the kundalini, or something like that. But if you ask them to explain what they mean, they can only do so in rather abstract terms that mean nothing. Enlightenment is when you know everything and am omniscient. When you escape beyond life and death. When you transcend life and death. Self-realization is to know the self of all, a non-dual state. And so it goes on and on and on, endless definitions that themselves are undefined to describe what their mission is. How on earth can they accomplish their mission when they don't know what they're seeking? Now, even every time I open my mouth, I am lying. Words themselves are a cheat. Even the word chair really talks about a function, not a specific object. So we communicate with common concepts, conversational concepts, like giving somebody a cup of coffee in the morning with a smile. Do you want a cup? Sure, thank you. And this is what Satsang would teach. All words that a guru gives you are traps. And you have to learn to stay out of the trap. That's all his teaching was. Stay out of the trap. Answer, yes, I will have a cup of tea, thank you. How high is Mount Meru? How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? Yes, I will have a cup of tea, thank you. Our mission is to help consciousness evolve and become more tolerant. When, as Chaitananda said, what utter nonsense. Would you like a cup of tea? All gurus lie, they have to. The words themselves they speak are lies. And we're in boxes with our conceptual system, and all of those words are centered on the I thought. The basic distinction between I and thou, me and the others. When it is seen that the I thought does not point at an entity inside my subjectivity, your world can come crashing down. Without the I thought as the linchpin of that net of knowledge, all of it disappears and is meaningless. We see the world totally new, as a vast emptiness with appearances within it, which we can't even name at first, and they seem hollow. Space seems to pervade all the things that we see, the world. The inner space of our subjectivity becomes one with the outer space. We see the world a new way, and there's no longer an I. It's hard to function at first, kind of scary, to just be emptiness. And yet this emptiness seems to be functioning, but you feel like it ought to be able to. It's like huge airplanes. They fly, you know they fly, people tell you they fly. You can see them overhead, but you see, when you're next to them on the ground, you think, or may think, they can't possibly fly. They're too big, too heavy. But they do fly. So we all have concepts, and we also have large areas where we have no concepts for. It's within that large area where we have no concepts that our truth will be found. And by that I mean the truth of feeling, of becoming alive to the divinity within us, the life force. But it really only happens when we can love deeply. And when we love another deeply, whether it's a guru, a human, an animal, an idea, and devote our total lives to the care and feeding of that creature, and can bow to their feet in surrender, do we begin to know truth for the first time, because it can't be found with the mind. It can only be found with the heart, in the heart. And when you're so devoted to someone, your heart is so open, and you can actually feel the heart energies of the other person. There's a communion. And then there's no doubt. No matter what that person does, no matter what that person says, you know how that being feels to you inside. It's utter purity. It's utter truth. It's utter love. It's utter surrender. And you may have lost the ability to think, but you've regained your ability to feel. Maybe you don't know how to express it yet, but you can feel with all your heart. Totally feel your life, your energies within, the divinity within, Atman, the light within, the life force which motivates your body. And eventually, the more you watch, the more you feel, the more you become aware of the witness who is witnessing consciousness, your consciousness which fills the whole universe. And you begin to know about the unmanifest self, the unborn self, the untouched and untouchable self, who merely witnesses that play of consciousness which contains your body and your world and your mind. After that awakening, things are never the same. Your heart is mostly always open, although sometimes the emptiness takes away the intensity of feeling. And that can always be a problem. I can't record this talk because it requires me to get permission from the host, and I am the host, so I'll just have to take it off the other camera. Here's a chat question. Let's see. Oh, nothing. So, there are two major Eastern spiritual traditions. The path of Ramana, Robert Nisargadatta, the path of knowledge and transcending knowledge. The absolute as knowledge and the transcendent of the knowledge. But it's a very narrow and steep path. It leaves a lot of bodies behind. I had one student, Lila, who did nothing but listen to Robert tapes 24/7. At night, she'd sleep with the tapes. She'd read the transcriptions. She'd listen to the tapes over and over and over again. She'd come to the satsangs. And one time I was talking to her personally, and I was saying, this way can become very boring. And she sort of thanked me and said she'd even been contemplating suicide because she was lost in emptiness. Of course, she was also depressed about her marriage, and that was part of it too. She couldn't get out of it. So there were a lot of factors, not just Robert's teachings. But the emphasis on emptiness can lead to that kind of depression. And several of Robert's students committed suicide, either while they were with him or shortly after they left. Did Robert feel responsible? No, not at all. He was sharing his life with them, with us. It was up to them to do with it what they wanted. His teachings didn't help them in an ordinary sense of having a better life. And they just didn't want to live with the life that they had. Robert's teachings hadn't taken them out of that life. And they died. And remember, a teacher can't help but lie to you. You're in your little box with your hidden wants and needs. And the teacher can only offer an alternative worldview. But the words he uses are the same words that you use. So you take them to mean what you think they mean, and not the way Robert meant. Just like the Bible can be taken as proof of almost any point of view if you selectively quote from various concepts in the Bible. So you can listen to Robert for a long time. Be captivated by the intonation of his voice. They make you settle down, feel rested or at peace. Until one day something happens. Or not. It doesn't always happen. So after a while you look for a new teacher. People tended not to stay long with Robert. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. 2 years was exceptional. He wasn't their cup of tea. He didn't grab them where they had to be grabbed. So he used other techniques too. But they're all lies if you're not speaking the same language. And if you don't trust each other. And get at the feeling root behind all the words. I'll bet you a lot of you out there that know me well don't trust me. They bring up the fact that what I said 2 years ago in a certain conversation or a certain quote, or 3 years ago in a book that I wrote, and they say, that's not what you're saying now. I contradict myself 4 or 5 times a day. That doesn't mean I'm lying. I'm telling the truth from my point of view, which changes constantly, depending on the situation and the time of day. But it's the feeling underneath the words that you have to feel. Feel the energies. Feel my heart. And if you feel my heart to be true, you will know yourself whether yours is true or not. Robert always said he didn't want to accumulate a lot of students, but he wanted to have 10 to leave behind as his legacy. Many were affected by Robert. Many are more affected now because of the publication of his book and all the internet interest in him. Nisargadatta even more so. They're not interested in accumulating a lot of students because students can't grasp the immensity of the teachings of Nisargadatta, for example, the depth of them. Or for Robert, the power in them, the power of consciousness, leading us to abandon our bodies and plunge into the glory of consciousness to attain God consciousness or the spiritual self, the life force, by turning within and going within constantly. Day after day, month after month, year after year, listening to sacred chanting to get the heart moving, feel the heart moving. Find that sense of self within and stay there. Day after day, month after month, without break. We get so distracted with other things, other people. Living in an ashram can be a kind of cold fish type of day because the people are so focused on their practice. They have a hard time talking to each other, even to get the daily chores done. Other ashrams, it's kind of constantly talk. It's just like being anywhere else. But in a good ashram, it can feel cold because people focus on themselves and their practices of discovering themselves, or devotion to the guru, or devotion to each other in the ashram.
You're frozen.
What? Hello, what?
Yeah, now you're back again, I think.
So, in a good ashram, people focus on themselves. And there's not a lot of chit-chat and talking about all other kinds of things. Just listen to the chanting and they sit in meditation. They listen to the teacher's words or follow the readings. And someday they make progress, or not. But if you try to understand the teacher or another person with words or concepts, like paranoid schizophrenic or histrionic or paranoid, or schizoid. These are words that show you don't have a clue to where their heart is. So, learn to be open from the heart by getting out of your head, sinking your energy into your heart, feeling for your heart feeling. And from there, just relax your beingness into yourself. Are there any questions? I've got a big stomach ache. It's hard to concentrate right now. I may have to run to the bathroom at any moment. Puckering up. But as long as I can hold it in, feel free to ask questions. Jay, you have a question? Andrew, a question? Walker, a question?
Okay. Since you mentioned a stomach ache, I've had a lot of health issues in the last few years, and have chronic pain and a few things. And I notice I have a lot of resistance to practice when my interior experience is painful. And I rationalize not sitting and being with myself. And if I practice too much, it's like it intensifies the pain quite a bit, or the inner anxieties that really linger through the rest of my day and can derail my functionality. Do you have any guidelines for how to address and how to balance making sure I practice and also managing?
You forget about balance. There are two ways to do it. Learn how to forget the pain, or use the pain as your meditation object. I call it eating emotions, but it means eating any feeling that is negative, whether it be anger or jealousy or depression, or a knee that hurts a lot, a stomach ache, whatever. And sit there quietly and make that pain your beloved. Just settle back. Don't resist. And allow that pain into your heart. That pain becomes your beloved. That pain is telling you something. What does it want to tell you? What is it saying to you? That the position of your body is brutalizing it? That there's something there, part of you wants you to attend to understand something? Is it trying to teach you steadiness in the face of pain? And with this kind of feeling, touching, going back and forth, you learn what the pain is trying to tell you. You absorb that pain. And when you can absorb it fully, several times, over days or weeks of a lot of meditation on the pain, it will pass suddenly. Pain in the body can almost instantaneously disappear after holding it and just watching it for a long period of time. For example, at Mount Baldy, we sat in a very rigid style. And the first 3 days were very hard on the body, sitting in full lotus position, rigid back, circulation impeded by having the heels on the thighs. The back held very rigidly, sitting on a cushion. But it was an utterly stable sitting position. You could sleep in that position with no problem and not fall over. And something always happened to me on the third day, sometime during the third day. Suddenly, all of the pain would just disappear. I just held it onto it. I tried both ignoring it and making it mine. But something about holding steady rather than moving about with the pain released it. And then allowed me to go into very deep meditation. I haven't been able to get into deep meditation until that I lost my body, so to speak. I let the pain be there. I invited the pain. I used the pain. Can you do that?
I should work with this that way. I used to work with meditation pain like that. I believed it wasn't real. It would just emerge through the practice and it would pass. But this is the result of an injury, is lingering. So I had this view that it just needs to heal, but it's been a year and a half. I haven't faced it in that manner consistently either.
Don't think about it, just merge with it. Don't think it's about something that has to heal and hasn't happened. Instead, just see what it's telling you. There's a message in that pain. What is it? Be curious about it. Be curious about the boundaries of the pain, what the edges feel like. And where the pain ceases, what's the boundary between where the pain is, that part of the body, and where the pain is no more. Is that boundary consistent, or does it change? Is the pain sharp, or is it dull, or is it both? Does it increase intensity or decrease in intensity? Does it throb? Those kinds of things. And you get to know the pain. Well, apparently this is a private message, and how can I respond publicly to a private message? Email me with the question at satsang.online@gmail.com. Any other questions? Any revelations? You know, Swami Chaitananda is a very powerful man, physically powerful, and powerful in the sense of a commanding sense of presence. And he's been wealthy most of his life because he grew up in the art business, art and rugs, and he's founded lots of businesses, side business, bread companies, Rudy's Bread. Yet he is unendingly critical of other teachers. Ken Wilber, Shankarananda, Muktananda. He even lied when he said that he overheard Nityananda calling out Muktananda in front of the entire satsang where he was at, that Muktananda was basically a corrupt asshole, a worthless piece of shit, using words similar to that, in front of everybody in the room. But Nityananda died in 1963. And Chaitanananda didn't know him until 1968. So he couldn't have heard him. Maybe in a dream he heard him, but not in real life. You see the documentary, The Three Gurus, with Andrew Cohen leading, conducting, Chaitanananda, Shankarananda, and Brother Charles, or Master Charles. What do they do during the whole 25-minute film? They bitch about their students. They complain about being stuck in the back by their students, that you become the target of all of their insanity. And now Chaitanananda says he can't take it anymore and he's quitting teaching, selling the ashram. Half of the women in the ashram thinks he's going to run off with them. Won't they be surprised? He has no idea what he's going to do. But he's selling the ashram, taking his millions and retired. I'd love to have a beer with him after he retires, but he doesn't drink beer. But all three gurus, matter of fact, including Andrew, 4, bitched about their students. How they try to pigeonhole you as a guru, making you conform to their worldview, their illusion. While they, of course, are free of illusion, so to speak. Not really. He knows it. We all have our illusions. And we try always to escape others' illusions or traps because they don't fit our illusions. Don't we weave a web when we meet somebody new? Whether it's a potential employer, potential lover. For the first 6 months, we're the best employee ever. Perfect sycophant, ass kisser. The same thing with a potential lover. Oh, are we walking on such rarefied atmosphere? Overly courteous, giving presents at the slightest occasion, sweet talking, never finding the slightest thing wrong in what they do. And the other person blossoms under all this positive attention we give to them. And then when we know they're hooked, you begin to let your real self out. And they go, ah! So Nisargadatta said, I have no illusions. I'm telling you the truth. You may find it intolerable to hear the truth, so you may go elsewhere. But I've tried to keep the level of truth in this Sangha higher than most by being upfront, not trying to mystify anybody, not creating financial boundaries or use people financially. I'll sometimes put a donation button and say, take care of the cats in Los Angeles, the 300 that, I forget what her name is, taking care of for me. But my hand is very light when it comes to making demands. I sort of go with whatever is happening. But even then, people get offended. what can I do? I walk as, what would you call it? Gently as I can. Here's a new one. Enrique, Ed, how did your meeting with Massaro go? I canceled it. I got a big stomach ache for the last 3 days. And besides, the 5 of us here have been having such fun, almost a constant, endless satsang, that the idea of going and breaking the satsang to go to see Massaro just didn't make any sense. So I told him, and he understood. He said, you know, friends come first. Any other questions? Are there any really good insults out there? Enrique, is there somebody you want to insult? Michael, anybody you want to insult? He pointed at Max. Okay, next week I won't have a stomach ache. So I'll be able to talk better, be able to think better. And you'll enjoy it so much better. Until next week then, I love you all. Pay attention to your pain. It can be a teacher. And it's not like it's separate from you, it's you teaching you. You just have to be open to yourself and receiving the message it's trying to deliver. Even if it's only one about how to tolerate pain and loose your life from its grip. Thank you so much. I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.